So how do you build wealth and minimize the risk? Right? Like that's the perfect combination. Everybody wants that. Well, that's exactly what I'm going to talk to you about today in this video. Risk is really a part of wealth building. You can't escape it. It is just a part of multiplying your money with investments when you're trying to build income for the future, passive income, whether you're retiring early or at 65. But how can you actually make wise financial decisions? That way you do not end up penniless or running out of income. If a disaster happens, an unexpected event happens, which is likely to happen, unfortunately, because life doesn't go as planned, how can you actually minimize the damage that is done when that happens? If you don't know who I am, my name is Jackie Elias. I am the CEO of FutureBound, where we help Kiwis reach mortgage and financial freedom so they can live the life of fulfillment that they want. So a little disclaimer about what this video is going to do is that I am not a insurance advisor. I am not looking at your financial records and giving you specific financial advice. This is general information, so you can think about your situation and how can you better your financial situation to reduce financial risk while you're building wealth. So let's get into it. The first one is to avoid magpie syndrome. Now, that's a term that I made up. Magpie syndrome is the shiny things. They get you off track, and you're saying, oh, there's this opportunity, and oh, I found this house that, we could make some money. You're only looking at the possibility of how much money you can make. The problem with that, I'm glad you have a very positive outlook. The problem with that, though, is that you're not looking at what are the risk factors. Everything takes longer and more money than you actually plan. So it's the way to avoid magpie syndrome is to have a plan. Make an investment plan, whether you're looking at investment property, looking at investing in the share markets, whatever it is. Have your plan, decide what kind of investments that you're going to make, and stick to that plan, because it'll automatically eliminate options. And then you won't be like, oh, well, there's this opportunity over here. We have to have it now. We have to hurry, right? You're not making decisions out of emotions. You're making it using your brain, which we know our decisions are mostly made emotionally. You're actually turning your focus into, okay, what is the wise, smart money financial choice here? And that goes into my second tip for reducing risk when you're wealth building, and that is to follow the numbers. When you are looking at an investment, you should be looking at how much money do you need to make, how much money potentially could you make, and what are the risk factors there? How do you exit? That's part of your planning, but how do you exit this? So that way you can actually look at all the numbers and make sure that you are considering your risk based on the numbers and based on your current financial situation, because you can't just look at what else other people are doing around you. You have to look at your situation and do the numbers make sense for you, and does it make sense for right now? Because you may actually be at a place where you need to say, wait, we actually need to wait because we're over leveraged, or we could be over leveraged if we act on this right now. So let's wait 6 months and then act. So the third way to reduce your risk when you're wealth building is to get rid of your debt first. Debt is like one of these things. It's so interesting because on one hand, it's this emotional hit that you can buy something now and you really want it. And on the other hand, it actually slows down your wealth building capability because all your money is tied up into debt. And then when you think about, well, if I can get a mortgage that gives me a house, which gives me leverage, that's debt. And then when I want to buy investment property, that's debt. However, if you can minimize have little to no personal debt. So your owner occupied house and your short-term like car loans, credit cards, all those kinds have no debt is what we advocate for. Then you can have more money that can be saved and invested and put into growing your wealth. Also, the way it reduces risk is that means that if something happens to your income, the amount of money that you need to actually survive and not go in the red is way smaller. And so you can easily adjust what you do for income because your personal expenses are very low. All right. The fourth way is to build an emergency fund. I actually kind of really like emergency funds. I don't know what that says about me, but I really like knowing that if something happens, I have some money that is working for me, but it's a set aside that I don't have to go into debt because of an emergency. Many of these emergencies, and we'll talk about that in the next one, but many of these emergencies aren't actual emergencies. But when you really, truly have an emergency, if there is something that happens that you cannot anticipate, like a car accident or, there's all kinds of things. I don't want to be doom and gloom, but you want to have some money stashed away, 3 to 6 months of your needs, and that you've identified, and you're going to save that amount and have that working for you, but set aside. We recently just had, it seems like every single year we have appliances break, and it always happens in twos. Like a couple years ago, we had our refrigerator go out, and then our oven and stove went out. And then this just literally a few days ago, we had, actually last week, we had our washing machine go out and our hot water heater started leaking and water all over the carpet and floor. So yeah, I was so glad that we actually had an emergency fund. Obviously we have insurance, which we'll talk about, but we also have money in the emergency fund. But the fifth thing that you want to do is do what we do, is anticipate some of these expenses so it's not actually coming out of the emergency fund. So we have a home maintenance fund. And so a lot of that money that we are spending to get things fixed up front before we can get the insurance to cover it is coming from the home maintenance fund that we actually put money aside each fortnight, because we get paid on a fortnightly basis, and we actually use that to fix things that are broken. Anything beyond that, we can dig into our emergency fund if we really need to, but because we've anticipated these things and put into our budget, putting some money set aside, we don't have to go into debt, and we don't have to slow down our wealth building investments. And so the last thing to do is to get insurance. Get insurance. Everybody wants to forget about insurance. But if you go through setting it up, talking to an insurance advisor, looking at all the financial risks that you might be part of your profile, might be part of your financial situation for now and in the future, and then make sure that you have the right insurances to cover that. Things that are small, like someone breaking into your house and stealing so many things, like what happened to us a couple of years ago, to you getting terminally ill. You are covered because you know that you can, you've considered those risks and you have addressed them. So hopefully this was helpful. Please do click a link. I'm sure there's a link somewhere where you can click to get an insurance quote. So many people are underinsured. So many people have no insurance other than what they need for their house. Go through the process of getting advice from an expert who looks at risk all day long, especially if you're wealth building. You want to make sure that those are covered and you don't have some catastrophe where you have to start all over again, or having to figure out where's my income going to come from during this time. So talk to our insurance advisor so you can get a quote. And our insurance advisor that we work with looks at multiple insurance companies. So you're able to shop around in one place, save time, save money. So until next time, guys, thanks so much for watching. For more financial tips, advice, and education, subscribe to us on YouTube and don't forget to hit that notification bell.